My name is Aditya Chauhan, and today we'll be discussing the current affairs answer key for the UPSC Prelims 2026. First things first, make no mistake that this year's UPSC Prelim was probably the hardest prelims ever to be conducted in the history of the examination. At least in the past decade or so, we have seen that the prelim examination has become difficult over a period of time. But this year, UPSC has moved away from asking simple remembrance based question to a more analytical and rational based approach. So first things first, you need to remember that UPSC is not rewarding your remembrance skill. It is rewarding your analytical ability to basically answer the question firstly. Secondly, it is rewarding your rational ability to choose which question to pick and answer and which question you shouldn't at least spend more than 1 minute. What UPSC is now requiring aspirants is to link your current affairs with subject matter. So now let's look at all current affair related question. Mostly this year we have seen around 25 to 35% of your exam was current affair dominated, and these questions were more moderate to very high difficulty. So let's start with the basic current affairs. We are choosing set D as our base. Set D of UPSC prelim. We'll start with firstly question number 21. Question number 21 is a simple old standard factual question regarding your volcano. Now remember volcanism, we've also discussed in our class various volcano. Volcanism, especially the eruptions like Haile Gubli and other volcanoes from ash from which even appeared at Potwar Plateau in Delhi. So volcanism is a very important or a very favorite subject of UPSC. From there, they have chosen basically a global geopark which was designated in June or in June to August. In this time frame, this was in news. It was also asked in June, July, August that where is this volcano basically located. A simple straightforward question which is associated with current affairs from June onwards up till your August period. This volcano or the volcanism part was basically in news. So basically the answer is Ecuador. A simple straightforward question with a straightforward answer. We have seen this kind of questions appear in your UPSC prior also, but one thing that is missing this time is questions like 1 only, 2 only. Rather than that they have chosen whether statement 1 makes relevance with statement 2, so on and so forth. Next we have is your question number 22. Question number 22 is also a environment based current affairs. Question number 22 deals with Madhav National Park. Now National Park, just like volcanism, is also very important. I have also attached the source from where UPSC might be asking, whether the source is ours or your Press Information Bureau and MEA. Now one thing is very clear for us, that it is very easy in post facto for us to culminate sources, to bring out sources, whether it is our magazine, whether it is Press Information Bureau, but from aspirants perspective it becomes very difficult. Like we say, single source multiple revision. I'll also tell you a strategy how you can approach current affair for the next examination and what is required. So let's see at 22 question. 22 question is with reference to Madhav National Park. Now Madhav National Park was in news because it was declared a tiger reserve in India in 2025. We've done this in basically in our classes also. Plus Sakhya Sagar, which is designated as a Ramsar site, is situated within the national park. Now like this is a concept of layering. This is what I was talking about, layering. They are asking whether the national park is a tiger reserve, a simple fact based, and a Ramsar site question. They have paired these two questions. Alright, you will see further more evidence of this in the upcoming questions. So Sakhya Sagar, that is very accurate. Madhav National Park was the 58th tiger reserve, making statement 1 correct. The park is enclosed by the lakes Sakhya Sagar and Madhav Sagar. Based, it was also Madhav Rao Sindhya's son basically who inaugurated this as the Tiger Reserve, the 58th Tiger Reserve, and basically Sakhya Sagar is designated a Ramsar site. Then the third statement, the area is shared between Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. This is basically a bit tricky or difficult. Why? Because it is not shared by both the states. It predominantly lies in only Madhya Pradesh. So statement 1 and 2 is accurate. Madhav National Park lies wholly and solely in Shivpuri district of Madhya Pradesh. So basically your statement 1 becomes accurate. Statement 2 is also accurate. Statement 3, however, is a false statement. Then these are the two current affairs question. Next is the layering concept, or from 25th question. 25th question is a question from government scheme. Now this scheme or this part was in news basically in your May 2025. One thing that the UPSC is now asking is asking current affairs from more than 20 months. 20 months of current affair. It is predominantly asking, straightforward. We have seen question from May, we have seen question previous question, the first question we discussed was from June. This is from May 2025. Sagarmala. Plus another important facet about UPSC, like I said, was analytical skill, was the ability of aspirant to speed read. Speed read is ability to read fast and also analyze which question I need to spend my time on and which question I must forego because it is not giving my basically return on investment. Now if you look at this question, this occupies almost the entirety of the page. Entire page has been occupied, plus the question is still not here. The question is still not here. The question is somewhat below this, and the options will also be very tricky here in this question. We'll look at it. So basically UPSC is basically judging that whether aspirant chooses these kind of question or these kind of question where you can answer easily. In my with respect to my approach, I would have chosen this current affair over question number 25. Why? Because both of them are of 2 marks each, but this will save my time if I am able to attempt this question from current affair. This is also a current affair question, whereas this question I'll have to read the 3 statements, then read 3 options and then make assertion based on this option. So Sagarmala program, the question is about Sagarmala program from May 2025, basically seeks to achieve port-led economic growth through cost-effective and sustainable infrastructure. Now these lines are not explicitly mentioned anywhere. Key objective, if you look at the key objective, this is from Press Information Bureau. I have basically churned out, we have covered this part in our revision batch. Then key objective is to reduce logistic cost, basically cost effective. So one thing becomes accurate, that first objective to reduce logistic cost, meaning by which making logistics cost effective, create jobs, enhance domestic waterway, lower logistic cost, bulk commodity locating industry. So at least this part, that Sagarmala project aims port-led economic growth through cost effective and sustainable coastal infrastructure. This part is accurate. Then the success of the Sagarmala program is reflected in significant growth in coastal and inland waterways and shipping. Sagarmala 2.0 basically aims, at to position India as a global maritime innovation hub aligned with Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat vision. So now comes the tricky part. They are not asking which statement is accurate. They are asking statement 2 validates the effectiveness of the strategies envisioned in statement 1. Statement 3 basically extends the objective of statement 1 by embedding them into the future orientation. Statement 1 contradicts statement 3 by focusing only on traditional infrastructure instead of model innovation. So what is here required is your basic understanding of the scheme rather than remembrance of fact, kitna ton, kitni weightage. Rather than doing all that, they want you to draw inference from the said 3 basic scheme. So these 3 scheme basically, or these 3 sub point of the scheme are discussed here. That firstly, Sagarmala program seeks to achieve port-led economic growth. That is very accurate. Why? It is mentioned explicitly in the Sagarmala key objective. This part is also from Press Information Bureau. The success of the program is reflected in significant growth in coastal inland waterway along with improved port ranking. So basically this is accurate. Coastal Berth Development, PIB, Press Information Bureau, the 7 coastal berth projects has been developed, renovation of the historic barrages have been done, then a project for augmentation of firefighting facility. All this basically tells that there has been a success or improved global standard. All of these projects that have been undertaken have led to a record cargo handling basically of 915 million tons, so on and so forth. Plus your global recognition. Indian ports have strengthened their global presence with 9 ports ranking among the world's top 100. So basically statement 2 again becomes accurate, that the success of the program is reflected along with the improved global port ranking. That stands corrected. Then Sagarmala 2.0, the recent scheme that was launched. So Sagarmala 2.0 basically positions India as a global maritime innovation hub aligned with Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is also accurate. So basically the answer to this question becomes your 1 and 2. 1 and 2 inferences are correct. Statement 2 validates the effectiveness of statement 1 here and why, and your statement 3 extends the objective. There is no such contradiction. There is no such contradiction. So your Press Information Bureau, your link, your hyperlink for this, basically I am not stating that the question has been coming exactly from here, but what I am saying is, if an aspirant is reading about Sagarmala, so the UPSC is now demanding from you, what inferences have you drawn from the said data? What are the inferences, key inferences that have been drawn? So next is question number 27. Now this is the tricky part here. Moidams were in news predominantly in 2024, September 2024 onwards. It was in news up till last year in March 2025. But they have not asked question then directly. They have asked a question now. Which one of the following statement with regard to Moidams built by Thai Om Kingdom? Now why they are asking this question? This is very important. Why? Because last year Om Kingdom was in news and Assam elections were occupying huge amount of, you're creating huge buzz in the newspaper each time. So they've taken a very current topic and asked the cultural basically question related to history and culture from that particular state where elections are being conducted. So I am not saying they'll do that every time. UPSC might not do this again, but what they are asking basically is your organic linkage with the subject matter, current affairs linked with the subject matter. So if Assam elections are going on, I must read what are the UNESCO sites, why Assam, what are all important facts about certain states that have transpired a year ago or at least 1.5 years ago. So with that respect, they are asking a question. The Moidams have acted as an army fortress. They are recreation center of royal and noble. They were burial grounds of the royals and noble. They were battle drill centers. So the answer very simply here is, they were, as you all know, burial grounds, and they were given UNESCO World Heritage tag also. So I mentioned the hyperlink here. Next becomes your basically the next question, 28th question. Again, you look at the length of the questions, you will come to realize that this was not an easy paper. Anyone who states to any aspirant that you need to increase this, you need to read this, you need to read extra, please understand, UPSC is not asking you to remember more. It is basically checking your analytical ability when summer months are at its peak, when the pressure inside your brain is at its peak. Which aspirant will be able to decode the paper better, make a better decision, which question to attempt, how to attempt, what inferences to be drawn, because that is what is the prerequisite for your civil servant. Remembering things might not be the best possible way or the best possible matrix to judge a civil servant. So the questions have been geared like that. That is why you see ethics has also entered the prelims part. You have seen questions from ethics and governance in prelims. Then question number 28, we see the core framework from the United Nations Conference of Ocean Conference, June 2025. Now look at this, June 2025. So basically almost a year back in France, the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations demonstrated its leading voice on maritime oceans, especially on sustainable fisheries, aquaculture for resilient livelihood and blue transformation. This is not the question. This is just a backstory of what has transpired in June 2025. Now, which of the following combination about 4 betters proposed by FAO for blue transformation is accurate? So, please understand what UPSC is checking. Like I said, organic linkage. There is a UNOC, basically a conference in June 2025, and in France, where FAO and United Nations have has shown keen interest towards your blue transformation. Regarding that blue transformation, what are the 4 betters? Better production, better nutrition, better production, better nutrition, better environment, better life, better coral reef. Now the trick here is because they have given UNOC. So if a aspirant comes to guess, this is the trick that UPSC has played in the entire paper. They have given you these kind of lengthy question with a backdrop. So United Nations Ocean Conference. So automatically your mind might take you that okay, Ocean Conference, coral, alright, estuary, production and better nutrition. So the answer might be from, if I have to guess, randomly guess. So that is how UPSC is playing with your mind. It wants to sway aspirant, it wants to check whether aspirants are basically able to sway towards the wrong option. So the basic answer of 4 betters is your blue transformation is B, better production, better nutrition, better environment and better life. So basically the question deliberately uses UN conference and blue transformation to set a trap. It tempts reader to select whether A, better coral reefs or your better estuaries, these kind of questions or these kind of options, which automatically are wrong. The correct answer is better production. So earlier what UPSC might have done was simply asked, what are the 4 betters that FAO has brought out in this meeting in June 2025? Simple question, or this was seen in news. 4 betters was seen in news. They have moved away from that, and what they are now asking is the analytical ability of an aspirant to whether draw inference from the information given, because as a bureaucrat or a civil servant, that will be your task at hand. So they are checking that also here. So 4 betters as mentioned here are these 4 betters. Then moving on, next is question number 35. We find semblance with your current affairs. Current affairs question number 35 basically is dealing with, I beg your pardon, not 35, it will be 34. Question number 34. Question number 34. This will be 34. All right. 34. 34 is Vizhinjam port. Now, there can be any number of people telling you why this port has been asked. Oh, this port was doing the rounds last year. They have been in news. No. Basically, what has transpired recently is a LPG crisis, and mostly we are a import dependent country. So the imports that are coming into India, mostly the imports are coming from ports or shipping lane, SLOC, shipping lane of commerce. So rather than asking about SLOC, they have asked the biggest port, container terminal of India, which was inaugurated, basically commissioned in 2024 and operated by Adani Port. So they have asked about that. The question is basically, in what ways does Vizhinjam International Seaport represent a structural shift in India's maritime trade and logistics shift? So this is very important, maritime trade and logistics shift. Why? Maritime trade and logistics shift basically is been talked about even in our marathons by the economic faculty, that this sector becomes very important. Why? Because this sector is under extreme stress for the past few months due to the West Asia crisis. So they've configured a question around ports and given it a touch of current affairs. So that is the basic requirement. Now, what has been the significance? Rather than asking earlier, what they would ask is the Vizhinjam port and its basically factual data that this port is in Kerala. It can handle 1 lakh metric tons of your containers per day, so on and so forth. Rather than doing that, it has asked you a basic conceptual question. What is the basic concept? By functioning exclusively as India as a domestic cargo hub to reduce lands on coastal shipping, eliminate the need for foreign collaboration. Then by focusing on passenger cruise and heritage shipping, increase Kerala's profile as a maritime heritage destination by leveraging natural deep draft and strategic location to reduce dependence on foreign transshipment port. So enhance revenue retention and reposition India. One thing is very important: whenever Government of India basically sanctions a port, it sanctions the economic priority overtakes your heritage, culture and tourism. So if I have any semblance of thought, this option will automatically be eliminated. Why? By focusing primarily on your international seaport. International seaport will not have its main aim as cruise tourism. It can be a subsidiary, but the main aim will never be your basically cruise tourism, है ना? तो ये वाला option तो automatically eliminate हो गया. When this option is basically eliminated, 2 is eliminated, then we are left with 1. By functioning exclusively as a domestic cargo hub. Now what is this question? The question is about international seaport, Vizhinjam International Seaport, by functioning exclusively as a domestic sea hub. So this is in contradiction to the question itself, this option. So simple UPSC logic, simple your preconceived knowledge logic, this question can be done by that. So the answer becomes your D. Vizhinjam International Port is India's first international transshipment port. Otherwise, transshipment arriving in India would be routed from Colombo port. We were dependent for the transshipment for Colombo port. Last year, we have sanctioned the Vizhinjam port to handle your international transshipments and make India's economic growth basically much more rapid. So regarding that, this is this. It is not a domestic port, it is an international port. It is neither a purely domestic basically nor a cruise or heritage destination. Then moving on, then we have a government schemes. Now this year we have seen that UPSC has moved away from randomly asking government schemes that the government scheme are in news. The government scheme that have been asked here are also very peculiar. They are asking schemes that have basically covered 10 years. Like I did a marathon prior to the UPSC where I discussed that the government schemes that are in news are basically of 2 types: new government schemes and the schemes that have basically done coverage over 10 years or provided services over 10 years, 12 years, 25 years. Similarly, they have basically asked question regarding a government scheme that has been basically in news or has completed 10 years. That is your which of the following are objectives of rain-fed area development initiative under National Mission of Sustainable Agriculture. Now this is another important thing that I tell in my classes, is that basically now examiners are moving away from asking the core emphasis of the scheme to your sub part of the scheme. So National Mission of Sustainable Agriculture, under that you have a rain-fed area development initiative, RAD initiative. So they are asking about RAD initiative basically. So there the options are encouraging monoculture in rain-fed area, then increasing rice cultivation in irrigated region, enhance productivity and minimizing climate risk through integrated farming. So these kind of question you should have devoted, or the aspirant. It's very easy for me to say here and do a post facto analysis, but as an aspirant, what must have gone through your mind is, I must attempt these kind of question. These question will take less of my time. Either I'll be able to attempt it or either I won't be. I will not spend 1.5 minutes just reading through the paragraphs and ascertaining whether I should attempt or not. I'll come to know within seconds whether I can attempt or not. Second, these are the type of question which are on old UPSC pattern. So you might have given multiple marks, so might be well versed with these kind of questions. So UPSC is asking your basic rationale, that whether the aspirant applies right kind of tactics in the examination hall. This option with this scheme, your National Mission of Sustainable Agriculture. No agriculture can be made sustainable if you have monoculture in it. No agriculture can be made sustainable. You know, agriculture to be made sustainable, you need multiple crops. You need crops over a period of time. If you are cropping the same crop, if monoculture exists, then agriculture cannot be sustained over a period of long time. So this option automatically negates the question itself. So this can be eliminated. So if 1 is eliminated, you get 2 and 3. Now 2 and 3, increasing rice cultivation. Now if you look at 38D, basically we have also covered it in our magazine, and I have also in my classes covered magazine, basically that this scheme explicitly discourages monoculture and is targeted at rain fed, not irrigated rice areas. So this is very important. So this second option is asking your attention to detail. Attention to detail. So basically this has been asked here, where they are asking a scheme, a sub scheme, a sub part of a scheme, and there they are asking basically your attention to detail. Here this has been covered in May 2nd week. This has the National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture done in May 2025 itself. Why? Because it covered basically your 10 years. This is an excerpt from our magazine, and basically here we have also talked about that rain fed area development uses watershed plus framework for natural resource conservation. So this part over here is being asked, a sub scheme, a sub point. Aim is being asked and a sub scheme of this is being asked. This is from our weekly notes. Alright, then please understand, by no means I say that if you cover these all, but I am giving you a pathway. A pathway means how to cover current affairs. Whether you are covering current affairs through any means, you need to understand whether you are reading government scheme, whether you are reading any form of current affairs, you need to understand whenever you are reading government scheme, you need to pay special attention to the sub schemes, what the scheme is going to achieve, what the sub components are going to achieve, what inferences you need to draw, and how you will link it with the subject matter. This is to be the coverage rather than going on collecting current affairs. What your basic aim is should be is to understand the subject matter and to link subject matter. That will give you much more dividend in the examination. Next, again a simple straightforward question, question number 40, where you have a Strait of Hormuz has been asked, and you are stating that out of the Strait of Hormuz, the ships flowing from the Strait of Hormuz to reach Indian Ocean, which all countries have to be there. So this is a simple mapping based question. Strait of Hormuz, like I said, for the past week or so, past month or so, has been in news intermittently. So therefore Strait of Hormuz is been asked here. So this becomes a very simple straightforward question, where Strait of Hormuz has been asked. Strait of Hormuz, like here is the Strait of Hormuz, you pass through Qatar, you pass through Bahrain, you pass through United Arab Emirates, again you have this part of Oman, and Oman you pass through Iran. By no means you pass through Syria and Egypt. You pass Syria, you can see that it overlooks your Mediterranean part. Tripoli is a port, Damascus is a port on the Mediterranean part, Egypt is on the Red Sea front. So these two are eliminated. The answer becomes B, 1 and 3. So straightforward mapping based question on old UPSC format is being asked here, but the basically the volume of these questions, volume means the amount of these questions that are straightforward and old UPSC pattern. I will not say straightforward, rather no UPSC question is straightforward, but in the older pattern per se, these kind of questions have been reduced. Now they are asking a certain question which require your inference ability, deep analytical ability, and outright certain times absurdity. This kind of question, I would suggest that to my aspirant that these type of question are given there in the exam to waste your time. Alright. Interpol notices. Now Interpol was partially in news. It was not directly related in last year's news, but they've given this question. Why? Because they want that the aspirant should waste first 30 seconds reading these questions, then another 30 to 1 minute, the 1 minute ascertaining the code. All of this is a futile exercise. Alright. So these kind of questions, I don't know why they are there, but they are there to make your life slightly difficult, you know, कि आपको पढ़ते ही दिल पे प्रेशर सा पड़े. कुछ लोग तो है ना दिक्कत में भी हो सकते हैं ऐसे क्वेश्चन पढ़ के कि ये क्या पढ़ लिया. So basically these kind of questions the aspirant should have moved away or steered away from. So Interpol notices, Interpol notice, silver notice. So basically your silver notice in Jan 2025. Now look at this, Jan 2025. Jan 2025 में नोटिस आया था टू आइडेंटिफाई ट्रेस क्रिमिनल एंड एसेट मेकिंग इट करेक्ट मैच फॉर टू आइडेंटिफाई ट्रेस क्रिमिनल A4. So basically why this is in news? This is in news last year. Again, partial information. David Headley and his associate, one of his associates, I beg your pardon, was brought back to India. He had a Interpol notice. India is also trying to bring back or has brought back Mehul Choksi. These kind of individuals who've committed fraud, who've committed international terrorism or national repression of any sort, these kind of criminals are being repatriated to India, or drug trafficking. So rather than asking questions about them, what UPSC is asked, what kind of notices Interpol basically issues to get these criminals back. So silver notice is basically regarding your to identify and trace criminal assets. Blue notice is used to collect additional information, about person, identity, location or activity. And your black notice is to seek information and identified bodies of unidentified bodies. Green notice, whereas, is used to provide warnings about person and criminal intent. So the answer becomes C. So here basically my purpose to tell you that is not that कि आपकी तैयारी कहीं पे कमी है. बिल्कुल आपकी तैयारी कोई कमी नहीं है. पिछले 10 साल का, दशक का सबसे डिफिकल्ट यूपीएससी है और वो डिफिकल्टी का लेवल आप यहां से देख सकते हैं कि कोई भी एक रैंडम क्वेश्चन उठा के पूछ लिया गया है. द अप्रोच दैट नाउ एस्पिरेंट्स नीड टू मेक इज टू असर्टेन. आपको मौके पे जाके यूपीएससी जब आप दे रहे हैं, देन यू विल हैव टू डिसाइड बेसिकली कि कौन से क्वेश्चन पे मुझे टाइम स्पेंड करना है और कौन से पे आई नीड टू जस्ट go by. Next, or let go of. Next is 42nd, a similar question with similar intent. You look at Nirantar. Now Nirantar basically what's going on here is in favor of Nirantar, because as the name suggests, Nirantar, it's ever going, just like the UPSC exam and the trauma associated with it. Nirantar basically is in news in January 2026. Alright, this has been brought in by January 2026, operationalized by January 2026, but it was not making headlines in January 2026. It was making headlines in 2024 September, when it was conceptualized or launched. In January, this has been operationalized. Now, what are they asking about Nirantar? Nirantar is a National Institute for Research Application of Natural Resource to transform, adapt and build resilience. Alright, a platform for institution under Ministry of Environment. Alright, which of the basically which of the following statement regarding Nirantar are correct? It is an ecosystem survey and analysis is a vertical under the platform. The lead institute is Botanical Survey of India. Research and management of ecosystem services is a vertical under this platform, which has been Central Zoo Authority, New Delhi. The capacity development support is a vertical under this platform. The lead institute here is the Institute of Forest Management. A core fact based question that basically your subcomponents basically a vertical or the subcomponent of Nirantar, and who has developed that. So basically research management and ecosystem services is a vertical with the Institute of Central Zoo Development Authority. Now this seems a bit fishy. Central Zoo Development Authority and research management of ecosystem services, this on its very own seems a bit fishy. Alright, so basically if I have to take a blind guess and I have no idea about Nirantar or anything, I might not go with this, because Central Zoo Authority has nothing to do with your ecosystem services as such. Alright, it has basic mandate of maintaining all the zoo as per a set standard. That is the basic core emphasis of your Central Zoo Authority. Whether these verticals are correct? No. Only your basically the answer to this question is 1 and 3. The vertical which are related to your the capacity development support vertical is anchored in the Indian Institute of Forest Management, that is accurate, in Bhopal. Research management of ecosystem services is led by the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun. Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, not your Central Zoo Authority. Now Central Zoo Authority, as the name suggests itself, ठीक है कि ये किसके लिए है, ये है रिगार्डिंग योर मेंटेनेंस ऑफ जू एंड अपकीपिंग द जू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. बट दिस क्वेश्चन इज, बोथ these questions are of very difficult or difficult rather your kind of questions. All right, the first option is also correct. The ecosystem survey and analysis vertical is led by the botanical survey. So basically both these verticals, both these questions, or 41 and 42 of your set D, both these questions are very difficult and given knowingly that basically the aspirant might spend huge amount of time reading them and you have a limited amount of time. Henceforth, they are basically asking you to choose which options or which question you need to read carefully. Next is the visit of your Chancellor, Federal Republic of Germany. Mostly people were concentrated about the mother of all trade deals, which is EU. So rather than asking a question about EU, later on we'll discuss a question regarding EU also, where there is a FTA that we have signed with EFTA countries. From there they've asked a question, a simple straightforward question. So rather than asking a question about your India-EU trade deal, what they've asked is your basically a German Chancellor visit. This is a IR based question, and in that also they've given it a certain twist. Which of the following statement is not accurate? Now, signing of the memorandum of understanding between All India Institute of Ayurveda and University of Hamburg, signing of memorandum of understanding on youth hockey development between Hockey India and German Federation, establishment of bilateral dialogue mechanism for Indo-Pacific, opening of honorary council of Germany, Lucknow. Which of these are not accurate? Which of these are not accurate? Basically your 1 and 4 are not accurate. Why 1 and 4 are not accurate? Basically during the visit, India and Germany signed MOU on youth hockey development between your Hockey India and German Hockey Federation on establishing and basically talked about establishing Indo-Pacific bilateral dialogue mechanism. Germany wants to have a Indo-Pacific outreach and its favored partner now is your India. We are also seeing the defense cooperation blooming between India and Germany. This was in news. Why? P-75I submarine. The tender for this has been floated and most probably a German manufacturer, ThyssenKrupp Marine, will be signing this contract. This was the basic turning point in January. Why this question is there? Because in January the defense cooperation is in news. So rather than asking question about defense cooperation, as everyone would have memorized, as we have also done, they have asked a general question that what all other than defense cooperation was MOU was signed. And third is there is no MOU between AIA and University of Hamburg on Ayurveda. The Ayurveda partnership has been with basically Berlin earlier, and no German honorary consulate was opened in Lucknow. So simple, straightforward, fact-based question basically from January 2026. Now what UPSC is also doing, there is a variance other than layering analytical ability. The third thing UPSC is doing is the variance in current affair. Either they are asking current affair which are from your preceding 3 months, like if the exam happened in May, so they'll ask April going up till January, or they are going way back. very few questions are from September, October or any other month, standalone question. Yes, you will find questions regarding your basically other facets or other economy environment which are coming there, but for purely current affairs perspective or purely current affair question, we see this kind of variance where they are taking up questions from very early part of your preparation, that is 20 months before the date of examination, or very near. Next is a straightforward question. We've discussed this in our classes also. We've discussed this in November when we were discussing the November month current affair. There we mentioned Dhruv 64. It is a third chip fabricated under DIRV program with an overall aim to enable creation of microprocessor of India. It is India's first homegrown 1 gigahertz 64-bit dual core microprocessor. Which of the following two statements are correct? Both these statements are correct. Here is the basic application of Dhruv 164 as explained by us and also by other means. We have given other sources like your PIB. So 11-month compilation. We have a compilation that if you refer 416. Here there is a regular digital magazine, open resource for everyone to basically earmark. From here, direct question from MIDP program, micro industrial MIDP program, and basically building a indigenous processor system which is based on fully indigenous 1 gigahertz 64-bit dual core processor developed by CDAC. So the answer to the 44th question becomes your both 1 and 2 basically. All right. So these kind of question which were our norm earlier, as you have seen this is covered in our magazine also. These kind of questions are basically rarity now in UPSC. So moving on, next we have is Bureau of Indian Standard. Now there is very little that I or anyone can tell you about this, that why this question is there, because this is basically in news or was in news basically because of the Delhi blast per se. You can relate to that, but it is borderline I would say not difficult also, just like the earlier Interpol question, a slightly absurd kind of a question, because no aspirant is being tasked to remember the BIS standard or why this BIS standard has been brought. There is no relevance of this as such. Yes, you can make relevance of this, that the Bureau of Indian Standard recently introduced a standard to test assess bomb disposal system. Which of the following system in regarding to this question is correct? The new standard is known as BIS or Indian Standard 1944/2025. Now this becomes very difficult on the aspirant. Why this has been asked? It will improve interoperability and equipment across agencies. Alright, it was developed by TBRL and DRDO in collaboration with the 30th Scientific Research Institute of Russia. So this option is inaccurate. Alright, bomb disposal, there is no involvement of the Russian counterparts in this. We have developed this, the TBRL, DRDO's TBRL lab, which is situated here in Chandigarh. This has developed this system. BIS has notified a new, and trust me, this is not as new as they proclaim it to be, but this becomes very difficult and very absurd. These kind of questions are there in the examination कि आप पढ़े उन्हें और आपको ट्रॉमा ही हो जाए, ऐसे क्वेश्चन है. नेक्स्ट इज योर again absurdity. There is a X. UPSC in this exam is infatuated with some Mr. X or whoever it is. X is, you will find abundance of this X in the exam. All X is born in UK, was conferred Nobel Prize in 2025. Okay, so now I have to go back to October month where Nobel Prizes have been announced, and he was born in UK. So rather than remembering what the Nobel Prize is about, what he has achieved, I must remember कि उनका birth certificate कहाँ का है, UK का है. So he was a professor in American University when the prize was given. Identify X. So this is again just to give it a twist. I don't know why this has been done, and these kind of questions make the examination much more difficult and rather borderline absurd. Alright, the answer to this is John Clark. We've discussed this in our basically in our magazine as well. basically John Clark October edition. We have a basically main section of that magazine where sir talks about, or he's given your 6 or 8 mains basically essay format important topics. There we have discussed the technologies like quantum computing, all right, these kind of technologies, where basically John Clark this year has been awarded a professor at University of California, Berkeley, satisfying both clues, UK born and a professor in an American university. Clark shared the Nobel Prize in Physics with Michael H. Devote and John M. Martinez for the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling. Quantum tunneling was in news. So again, Mr. X has been found here. Again, next is sports. Now sports is making rounds in UPSC. One question at least each year they're asking from sports, and they're not asking your regular kind of questions where they basically ask who won what. Again, once they asked a question about ICC Test Championship, where India has lost, another painful memory, just like this prelim exam. Here they are asking about Grand Slam. Last year, Iga Swiatek and your Janus Sinner had won the Grand Slam. So regarding that, they are asking a question regarding Grand Slam and tennis. The tournament have shared governance structure, establishing the partnership among the 4 Grand Slam. Which are the following statement about Grand Slam tennis? Now you must be aware about tennis per se. That there are 4 basically Grand Slams: Australian Open, Roland Open, Wimbledon Open, US Open. So your French Open, which is there here written as this, these kind of 4 Open are called Grand Slam together, and they are basically constituted to the Grand Slam board. And in that regard, tournament has a shared governance structure. They are open for entry to all internationally ranked players above the age of 14. Now this is again a old UPSC pattern kind of question, where all you find these kind of words, extreme words, all internationally ranked. There is a limitation on the number of wild cards a player may receive to compete in Grand Slam. So which of the following is accurate? So the answer to this question is your C. C is the correct answer, which is 1 only. 2 is inaccurate. Why? Entry is restricted by age and eligibility rule. Basically participation, there is no blanket open for all internationally ranked players. As stated here, they are open for all internationally ranked players above the age of 14. No, entry is restricted based on age and other parameters. Your ranking also determine your entry into Grand Slam. Wild cards are allotted by each tournament, typically 8 in singles men, but there is no global cap on how many wild cards there can be. So basically they are asking your understanding of sports. So UPSC, other than making you expert about bomb disposal, wants to make you an expert about Grand Slams also. So they are asking basically your understanding of your subject matter. Next is a simple factual question, right? Last year or this year itself, we've opened a ATMP plant in Sanad in Micron. So the UPSC has asked a question regarding your Indian subconductors or semiconductor missions, where the semiconductor plants are to be opened. A sort of a match the following, and it's given which of the following pairs of semiconductor plant is not correctly matched. You'll find semiconductors, REE, these kind of topics there. Also certain topics like UPI there in the exam. Why they are there? They are basically there because the UPSC is asking about your understanding. UPI made headlines last year because 49% of the total transactions were digitally that are taking place in the globe are being done in India. So there's a question here. There's a question regarding semiconductors because India had opened a plant and semiconductors last year were repeatedly in news. So regarding that, CG Power Industrial Solution partnership with Stars Microelectronics is it in Gujarat, Tata Semiconductor Assembly and Test Private. Now Tata have opened 2 plants. One is in Sanad, Tata Semiconductor Assembly, one is in Dholera, I beg your pardon. The other one is in Assam. That's accurate. HCL Foxconn joint venture, India Chip Limited. So this is basically certain doubtful. The 6M Private Limited, Odisha. So the correct answer is C. see the HCL plant. HCL plant is in Jewar, Uttar Pradesh. As mentioned here, a straightforward remembrance based question, but like I stated earlier, very few of these questions have been asked. Alright, next we have a question regarding awards. So, next we have awards like we do in our magazine. There's a question. This question, if you want to ascertain to a particular part of your magazines, this will be from state news. From state news. This is from awards. Earlier question to that, the tennis one, was from sports news. So, UPSC is asking current affairs from all walks of current affairs, not government scheme, national news. Earlier this was the approach. They would ask question predominantly from government scheme, paces in news. Now they are moving away. They are asking all faceted or multifaceted approach. In that regard, film Boong had basically won a BAFTA, what do you call, a British kind of an Oscar in children's and family film category. The film is directed by Lakshmi Priya Devi. This is the first Indian film to win your BAFTA award in children and film category. So basically all these three statements are accurate. Boong, a Manipuri language film coming of age, is directed by Lakshmi Priya Devi, and basically this is the first Indian film which has won BAFTA. So these are the questions up till 50 which are dominated by current affairs. Rest will be handled by other faculty members. We'll move to question number 71, which is a current affair dominant question. Alright. 71 question. So here we have is your question number 71. In space. Now this is in news. Why? We've covered this in our monthly magazine also and in our 11-month compilation, and everyone would have covered these because of the space technology sector is a very important part of your UPSC journey. Here they've asked a simple question regarding which of the following involvement of private entities in space. Now very important is the space frontier is the next frontier. You will see the space economy. After digital economy, the next boom that might appear is in the space economy. To leverage that, Government of India, what they are doing is they are inviting private players. With regard to that, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center in space is an autonomous agency formed to facilitate participation of the private entities. Agnikul Cosmos launched the first 3D printed rocket engine. Alright, Skyroot Aerospace has developed a liquid fuel for GSLV. So the answer to this is basically 1 and 2. Why? Because first and foremost, in space is the private arm, a single window independent nodal agency which functions as an autonomous agency formed basically for space reforms to facilitate private sector participation in the space sector. So that becomes accurate. In space, you might have covered in space in depth wherever you cover ISRO and it's basically other facets. In space comes in news. Next is this engine that we have done in our monthly magazine, and everyone might have covered this. Basically Ignite engine, which is a 3D printed engine by Agnikul Cosmo. This is accurate. Skyroot Aerospace has developed a liquid fuel for GSLV. This is wrong. GSLV is developed basically by your ISRO only. It is the workhorse of ISRO. There is no such participation in development of your GSLV or GSLV rocket fuel. Alright, that is not there. Skyroot is a private firm known for launching India's first privately owned rocket, Vikram S. However, it is not basically related to the GSLV. April edition, April 2026. This is in news. You can cover through PIB also and through the said source. Other sources are also available because it is widely covered. All I'm stating here is that there are questions which are routed through your traditional basically sources. There are questions that are routed through your traditional sources. Then there will be questions like I'll discuss ahead which are routed through your some reference through some PIB, some reference through something else, and they've asked a question regarding that, like your 72 question. 72 question also a science and tech, but related to current affairs. How Op Sindoor was in news last year. So Op Sindoor basically talks about the retaliation to Pahalgam attack, and in that drone swarms made headlines. So they've asked a question regarding drone swarm. They use tetrahertz band frequency to communicate with the command center. Drone swarm is a swarm of or a multiple drones basically converging over an area and targeting that area, and tetrahertz basically frequency is used to communicate with the command center. Individual drone in the swarm can communicate with the other drone in the swarm. Yes, there is a concept of in drone swarm mothership. All right. Then GPS spoofing on its own was in news when we were undertaking Operation Brahma. That is the relief to Myanmar against a cyclone. When we were undertaking that operation, GPS spoofing was taking place. Or even in May 2025, when we were undertaking Operation Sindoor, we saw cases of GPS spoofing. So GPS spoofing is commonly used where they deny GPS, a technique to counter drone swarm. That's also accurate. Basically a straightforward question. Tetrahertz frequency जो है वो is a science and tech topic. Both of these subtopics are from current affairs. So tetrahertz frequency is a work in progress. It has not yet been developed. So this option becomes inaccurate. They use terahertz band frequency to communicate with the command center. Drones as of now use simple VHF and UHF or other means satellite communication to communicate with your command center, thus making GPS spoofing a commonly used technique to block drone communication between the command center and the drone. So the answer to this question 72 becomes B, 2 and 3. Right. Then next we have 75th question. 75th question we have regarding your India's deep ocean mission. All right, India's deep ocean mission, Matsya 6000. Now this was in news in May 2025. Matsya 6000 and Samudrayan was in news in 2025. So they've asked a question from May 2025. Which of the following statement regarding India's deep ocean mission are accurate? It was launched by Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. Matsya 6000 has been designed to carry 3 people for deep exploration. Samudrayan project is a project under this mission. If I don't know anything regarding this Matsya 6000 Samudrayan, I for sure know that Ministry of Port and Shipping and Waterways is not related to Matsya 6000. Samudrayan or Matsya 6000 basically deals with taking 3 of our divers in a encapsulated vehicle to the depth of 6000 meters. That is why the name Matsya 6000. Samudrayan project is a umbrella project. Under the umbrella project of deep ocean mission is the work on the first component of the deep sea exploration. So the answer to 75th question becomes B, 2 and 3. A simple elimination question. Third question, only the third question where simple elimination can be used to eliminate an option and get to the right answer. All right. So third question, that's the accurate answer. This is from May 2025. I've also mentioned the PIB link where you can read about the mission, from which you can somewhat source May as well as August, both these months. The PIB link is from the August month, where you have in-depth analysis of where your basically this question, you can understand about this question. Now when I have linked this is not to say that this is the single point source or this is the single point source from where questions are coming. All I'm saying is what UPSC is doing, it's pairing traditional sources. It's not relying on one source. It's taking certain information from certain source, certain information from certain source. So as an aspirant, you can't go on reading every source. What you can do is fixate your sources, whether it is the magazine, whether it is any other form of newspaper. You can fixate your sources. When you fixated that sources, draw inferences. Draw inferences, what you have learned from there, and from there you will be able to solve question. All right. Then next we have is your answer number, your question number 85. Again, Mr. X is in news. Mr. X is quite popular. Mr. X, again, quite popular this year. Again, X, this infatuation is not dying, in fact. Then we have is 85, a Sudarshan Chakra or Mission Sudarshan Chakra, straightforward question, or a semi straightforward question, a moderate difficulty question. Why am I saying this? We'll come to understand when we read the options. Basically, Sudarshan Chakra talks about enhances the India's air defense, ballistic missile defense and offensive capability. This mission is being designed to enhance rapid, precise and powerful defense responses and reinforcing India's strategic autonomy. One of the aims of this mission is to cover public places of India. Mission's Sudarshan Chakra is part of your Project Kusha, which has been launched basically to provide aerial coverage against all sorts of threat at the lower altitudes, at medium altitudes and at very high altitudes, or at the ballistic missile range. So this is a part of that, and this is making its round post Operation Sindoor. Why? Because basically Honorable Prime Minister announced this mission in January 2026, and it aims to enhance India's air defense and ballistic missile defense shield. So basically providing India both defensive and offensive capability. That's accurate, because Sudarshan Chakra is both defensive shield and an offensive sword, as talked about in the PIB, from the PIB, and also from an excerpt from our basic setup where this has been talked. Mission Sudarshan Chakra, it is a national security initiative, alright, which is a AI enabled hybrid technology providing offensive as well as active deterrence, passive deterrence and active deterrence, offensive and defensive both capability. The mission is being designed to enhance rapid and precise powerful responses, reinforcing strategic autonomy. That's also accurate. All right, basically it talks about a layered architecture, a 3-layered architecture, a cyber security, integrated network and AI integration. All these basically help in establishing your basically strategic autonomy. One of the aims of this mission is to cover all places of India by an expanded nationwide security shield. Now in many places it has been written that it does not cover all places, but in the excerpt from Prime Minister it mentioned all places will be covered by and expanded by a nationwide security shield in 2035. So this has been clearly mentioned in the Prime Minister's excerpt, and also, all right, in our data this has been complemented, where a national security initiative to build comprehensive AI-enabled defense shield for India by 2035. So the answer to Mission Sudarshan Chakra becomes 1, 2 and 3. All the 3 statements are correct. It provides defensive as well as offensive capabilities. Next we have is your answer 89th question. From 89 onwards you will find current affair dominant questions. Basically, again, this is a question which is doubtful, and in my own perspective, in my own belief, this question might be scrapped in the UPSC. Why? Because these conventions are asked, which ILO convention is not been ratified. There is no such need, there is no current affair relevance. I was perplexed why this question is there, because there is no such current affair regarding ILO or regarding these conventions, and yet they have asked this. So basically these conventions are given. Which convention has India not ratified? So in that regard, India has ratified ILO Employment Policy Convention. India has ratified Abolition of Forced Labour Convention. India has not ratified International Convention on Protection of Rights of Migrant Workers. India has ratified the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian person in time of war, but it has not ratified the Protocol 1 and 2 of this convention, Geneva Convention on relative to protection of civilian person in time of war. So therefore, by virtue of including this, that India has not ratified in entirety the Geneva Convention, they have taken, UPSC has taken that the fourth option is also eliminated, that in totality India has not implemented the Geneva Convention, whereas it's written that the India has ratified the fourth convention, but the protocols 2 and 1 are yet to be ratified in 1977. Fifth, convention to reduce statelessness, again India has not ratified that. So the answer is 3, 4, 5. A better option would be 3 and 5 rather than 4, 3 and 5 only. If that was the option, this question would have made much more sense. Next is your AI Impact Summit. Again, the size of the question is quite lengthy. So next is your AI Impact Summit. AI Impact Summit, we have your basically question number 98th. AI Impact Summit held in New Delhi. The summit intellectual framework was based on 3 foundational sutras: people, planning and progress. Basically the 3 sutras were people, planet and progress. So statement 1 becomes inaccurate automatically. So basically UPSC is asking your attention to detail: people, planning and progress, the 3 sutras and 7 chakras. This has also been asked. The preamble of the summit stresses on democratizing AI resource, which acknowledges the charter for democratic diffusion of AI as a binding framework network support. Binding framework. Now this becomes certainly contentious. This word binding, here it is written binding. Alright. So binding word becomes contentious. Yes, the preamble has passed. AI Impact Summit was in news because of various reasons. The good work was overshadowed by certain events that had transpired. So the declaration acknowledges the charter for democratic diffusion of AI as a voluntary and non-binding framework. Basically, this is the Press Information Bureau source, where on 2nd March 2026, it states the launch of Global AI Impact Commons, a voluntary initiative basically enabled to share, replicate successful AI use, a voluntary initiative, not a binding initiative. And we have also covered the AI Impact Summit in March in depth, whether in the mains mindset part and basically in the February edition, beg your pardon, we have done that on page 5. Also the 7 chakras which has been asked here. So the accurate answer for this becomes D, 90th D, because 7 chakras and basically your 3 sutras are being asked. These are the 7 chakras and your 3 sutras are people, planet and progress. Alright. Next we have is your 91st question. 91st question, again not a straightforward question, related to current affairs of the old, also linking with the current affairs of new. Alright. Basically July month Kaladan multimodal project was in news because this project is slated to be completed. It is between your Kolkata port, Sitwe, and then taking river Kaladan and reaching Palateva, and from road Palateva, Myanmar highway, then reaching your Mizoram. So this is a alternate route. This has been covered. Alright, in the July month Kaladan project is being covered. IMT, in India Myanmar Thailand highway, is covered in July. Again, which of these two projects are with ASEAN countries? So ASEAN was in news last year because of the ASEAN summit that happened, but and the Thai Cambodia crisis that is brewing up. So because of that, they've asked that the multimodal projects that India has signed with the ASEAN countries, which amongst these 3 is assigned with the ASEAN countries? So you must know most of the ASEAN countries in our surrounding. There are only 2, there is only 1 per se which shares a boundary with us, that is Myanmar per se. So Kaladan multimodal project is with Myanmar, that's accurate. India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway, again Myanmar and Thailand are part of ASEAN. Agartala Akhura rail line. Now this Agartala Akhura rail line is with Bangladesh. This is not a ASEAN member. So the answer becomes A. Simple, straightforward. Answer becomes A. 91st A. Again, match list 1 with list 2. So what UPSC is doing basically is asking layering two concepts. Ports infrastructure is in news. Government of India is having a push towards infrastructure. So it's asking you places where new infrastructure has been developed by India, whether individually, Vizhinjam Port, or with collaboration of other partners. So match list 1 and list 2, 92nd question. Project supported by India. Your Mang Dechu hydro project, and the options are given. Restoration of Store Palace. Now restoration of Store Palace happened in 2016-17. The project started 2016-17. This was in news in 2027. District Hospital at Dikoya, Institute for Security and Law Enforcement. So basically, a few of these are related to current affair of 21, 22, 23, so on and so forth. Now you can't be going on reading about these. Your Mang Dechu was a hydro project which was in news regarding India-Bhutan relations. We have covered basically, and that becomes from Bhutan. Restoration of Store Palace. Store Palace is in Afghanistan. Alright, Indian government has taken restoration project since 2016. Hospital at Dikoya, Sri Lanka, basically providing relief to the Sri Lankan Tamils. And Institute for Security of Law Enforcement and Studies, that's in Maldives. We've covered this in our magazine. Basically, excerpt from our magazine is there. Alright. So next we have is your next question. Defense. We saw dominance of infra, we saw dominance of recent rare metals. Now we are seeing defense, whether Sudarshan Chakra, whether it is drones. Why? Because Operation Sindoor was conducted and the resultant impact on our economy and our daily life. So which of these defense hardware are manufactured in India? Su-30 MKI, T-90 tanks, Mk3 tanks, or Akula class submarine. So basically 1 and 2. Now this is also not a straightforward question. The T-90 Mark III, it is written Mk3, named Bhishma. We are producing Mark 1 and Mark 2 in Avdi in Tamil Nadu. Now Mark 3 contracts have been signed, it will start manufacturing. So as of now, only 2, Su-30 MKI, this is manufactured under license from Rosborn Export in Nagpur assembly of HAL. T-90 has been produced by Advanced Weapon India Limited in Avdi. Now Mark 3 are to be produced, but alright, these are licensed, manufactured in India. 1 and 2. Akula class submarine are not manufactured as of now in India. Why they are not manufactured? Because basically they are being offered by Russia under Project 75I. So the answer becomes 93A. Alright, 94th. Now this is another straightforward question which you should not have attempted, because these subsidiary dialogues are coming from MEA. Alright, it's very easy for me to attach a link here and state, oh ye yahan se aaya hai, but very difficult for the aspirant. So Colombo process, these now they are asking about the statement about multilateral cooperation. So you find semblance of layering of international relations, ethics, the subjects that are covered in your mains. There is no particular watershed distinction now between pre and mains in with respect to UPSC. They have basically let go of that distinction. Example of this is here. You will find certain example in governance also. This is a straightforward IR. We do it in IR. The multilateral cooperation in IR means we do it. Colombo process, a consultative process of 12 members. The process is not binding, in which members state take binding decision. No, it provides important platform for consultation. The process is non-binding. Alright, next is your Abu Dhabi dialogue. Alright, the Abu Dhabi dialogue regarding your consultative process of Asian country regarding labor origin. So comprehensive information and orientation program, strengthening joint country of origin, country of destination, government oversight and monitoring in recruitment practices, certification of mutual recognition and skill. So domestic works in the Gulf. So this is regarding your labor welfare. The Abu Dhabi dialogue is between the Gulf states and the countries that provide them with labor, cheap labor. So that's also accurate. Global Forum for Migration and Development created upon the proposal of UN Secretary General. Yes, Kofi Annan. When you read UN chapter, in international relations, specifically PSIR students. So global reforms under UN, you'll find a Global Forum for Migration and Development, which is a brainchild of Kofi Annan, September 2006, the UN General Assembly Dialogue on International Migration and Development. So the answer becomes your 2 and 3. Dubai Dialogue, because it is non-binding, is inaccurate. Next is consider again awards. This comes from award, but is not a straightforward. Consider following UN organization, and they're given 4 organizations. And which organization has won your Nobel Prize twice? So only one organization, that is UN Human High Commissioner for Refugees, that has won Nobel Prize twice, 1954, 1981. World Food Program was awarded Nobel Prize in 2020. UNICEF is recognized Nobel Prize exactly once. ILO has been awarded Nobel Prize exactly once in 1969. So simple straightforward question from Nobel Prize awards, but has been given a certain twist to it by asking which organization has won it multiple times. Alright. Next, another very difficult question for aspirants and for everyone, the UN missions. Now why UN missions are in news per se? Blue line was in news. This is the line that separates your Golan Heights or the Israel border looking into Syria and Indian mission over there. So rather than asking a question on blue lines, they've asked the question about your entire peacekeeping operation. UNIMIL, MINUCAT, MINUSTAS and UN MISET. So where are these located? Basically, UNMIL is a UN operation Liberia, operated from period 2003 to 2018. Here is the list of periods in which you must be made aware. Feel aspirants, this is very difficult for anyone to solve in 2 hours. अगर UPSC के मेंबर्स भी आ जाए या कोई एक सिविल सर्वेंट भी आ जाए तो 2 घंटे में ये पेपर सॉल्व करना और एक्यूरेटली सॉल्व करना उनके लिए भी डिफिकल्ट होगा. ये पेपर इस तरह से बनाया गया है. यू विल फाइंड क्वेश्चंस लाइक दीज इन अबंडेंस एंड दे आर देयर टू टेस्ट बेसिकली योर टैक्टिक्स एज वेल एज योर स्ट्रैटेजी. टैक्टिक्स जो कि आप अप्लाई करेंगे एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में जब पीक प्रेशर होगा आप पे, विच क्वेश्चन टू पिक एन अटेम्प्ट and which question to let go. Similarly, MINUCAT, a UN mission in CAR and Chad, are operated in 2007 to 10, and MINUSTASH 2004 to 7, Haiti, and UN MISAT is a East Timor operation from 2002 to 2005. Alright, so basically these are in news because Gaza and Blue Line was in news. Next is your BIMSTEC center. BIMSTEC, ASEAN, we've seen these kind of centers are in news, and it's a match the following where BIMSTEC regional centers are asked. BIMSTEC Cultural and Industry Observatory, BIMSTEC Energy Center, BIMSTEC Center for Weather and Climate, and BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility. Noida, Bengaluru, Colombo, Thimphu. So 2 Indian, 2 abroad. So basically BIMSTEC Cultural and Industry, BCIO, is located in Thimphu, Paro. BIMSTEC Energy Center, BEC, is located in your Bengaluru, and BIMSTEC Center for Weather and Climate is located in your Noida, whereas the last one, BIMSTEC TTF, is located in Sri Lanka. Now why this question is there? This question is there because 6th BIMSTEC meeting took place this year. Where it was held? It was held in Thailand. So there it is important, and even PM Modi went to visit there. So therefore you will find these kind of question. Next and your 98th question is regarding Indian Army and your strike corps after bomb disposal. You must be made aware about the Indian Army strike corps, but this has been in news because of Operation Sindoor. So they were asking what are the strike corps or what are the defensive corps or what is a corps and where are the headquarters located. So 3 corps Dimapur, 4 corps Tezpur, 14 corps Leh, 33 corps Srinagar. Now this becomes slightly fishy because we know Srinagar Corps is called Chinar Corps, alright, Chinar Corps, which is also called your 15 Corps, alright, 15 Corps, 33 Corps is a Tri-Shakti Corps, alright, located in Sukna, West Bengal, Siliguri. This was in news. 33 Corps was in news. Why? Because 33 Corps wanted to occupy certain land, but West Bengal government and certain legislator made statement denying the said claim. Now Indian government is moving and to occupy and giving land to BSF, also allowing 33 Corps to establish 4 additional garrison near your Siliguri corridor. This was in news. So rather than asking about 33 Corps, what is a corps? Corps is the highest formation of Indian Army. It encompasses within its ambit division, probably 3 division or more, and it is the largest formation of the Indian Army. It can be static. Mostly it is static. It is land holding formation, and you have 2 types of corps, defensive and offensive. Next we have is your second last question, which is also current affair dominated, which is your Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan. Alright, Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan or the revamped Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan is correct. The period is implemented April 1, 2021 to 31st March 2026. Now look at the attention to detail. Attention to detail has been asked here. Exact period you must be made aware. Exact period. The key objective of the revamped RGSY is to develop governance capability of the Panchayati Raj institution to deliver sustainable goals, to share central funding. It is 100% of all states and UTs. For all states and UT, is there a scheme regarding states and UT which is 100%? No, it will be either a central sector scheme or centrally sponsored scheme. Alright, so basically your Rashtriya Gram Swaraj scheme has been starting from 1st April 2022 to your 31st March 2026. Alright, not from 2021. So this statement becomes inaccurate. Statement 2, the central objective is to develop basically your governance capability in Panchayati Raj. Statement 3, central funding is 60-40. So basically this kind of scheme is a centrally sponsored scheme, and under centrally sponsored scheme there is no mention of 100%. It is either 60-40 or 90-10. Alright, 90-10 for northeast states. 100% is only for UTs without legislature. Others will have to be 60-40 or 90-10. Alright, so therefore the answer becomes B. Rashtriya, basically a revamped Gram Swaraj scheme was in news your last year. Then we have last question, a very simple question, because India EU deal was in news, India UK trade deal was in news. So what we have is a India EFTA. India EFTA, basically we've done it multiple times in our classes as well, a trade deal. So it's asking basically which of the following members are a member of European Union: Belarus, Poland, Germany, Switzerland. So basically neither Belarus nor Switzerland is a member. Switzerland is a member of EFTA, with whom we have also signed a separate, basically your FTA, which came into being in September 1, 2025, became operational in September 1. So the answer becomes your 2 and 3. So basically by virtue of this explanation, we aim to tell you not just about the sources, that this has been taken from this PIB, this has been taken from this part of excerpt or this part of the magazine. Alright, that's the traditional source. What we want to tell you here is that basically UPSC has maneuvered away from your traditional sources and from your traditional approach. It is not looking forward for basically just covering your traditional sources, retaining memory. It is looking towards analytical skill and your tactics in the examination hall. Alright, and you can start your UPSC journey with us by enrolling into our foundation course for UPSC, which is with regard to the new approach that has been undertaken in your prelims exam 2025, and will give you a holistic subject coverage and detailed analysis of each topic and how it is to be linked and what strategy to be followed. So aspirants, thank you so much